What's goody, everybody? Today's topic, understanding the value of money. This right here can let you buy what you want or save for what you need. So before we make up our minds, we're going over what's important or just considered a novelty. Today's three focuses is value, budgeting, and how to treat you. So now that we're live, let's dive. Point number one, go against the grain. If you look at the norm, people spend their money on what appears to be right. But if you actually took a step back and examined, it honestly isn't very bright. And that's because we get fooled by the advertising and the wealthy. What they're doing doesn't help us, it just makes their pockets more wealthy. Just think about it. We got Louis Vuitton, Prada, and Coach, which is advertised for the rich and those of status, but their materials is the same as everyone else. They're just labeled as extravagant. Then you have shoe brands like Jordan, Forces, Air Maxes, and Yeezys, and Red Boots. But they're just like every other shoe, you put them on your left and then your right foot too. Then you have fast food restaurants and chains. They got salads and fruits at $6 or more, with their fries and burgers as so cheap, but at $10 a meal, $210 a week, that is just not cheap to eat. Then lastly, you have renting instead of buying, the perception of flexibility because you aren't stuck and you don't have to do repairs. But when your lease is up, all that money you've spent just dissipates into thin air. So this is when we need to find a solution. And step one is to take a step back and reassess. So first thing I want to do is tackle brands. Because it's not about whether you're wealthy or rich or you're poor or middle class. This is all about how to make your money last. So for my example is Selena Gomez. She is a famous Disney actress turned movie star turned award-winning music artist. She is the most popular female in the world with 688 million followers. These are her quotes. I don't usually spend over the $20 mark. I feel so much better buying a top for $20 that isn't so different from the one that costs $200. Then she goes on to say, when you see me on the red carpet, I'm usually in outfits that I've picked out and borrowed, and that I probably won't wear a second time, so I give them back. Normally the outfits are too expensive for me to own anyway. Selena Gomez, as many of us know, could afford any of the shoes or clothes that she wants, but she understands the value in what she's wearing. It's not about the brand or the label. The key focus when it comes to clothing and shoes is quality. You focus on the durability, the comfort, the price, and the looks. You can easily find a comparable piece of clothing or even a designer brand on discount or cheap at these stores. You have H&M, Nordstrom Rack, and JCPenney's. You can even go to even more discounted stores like Marshalls and Ross. And if you can't find them at those places, you always got Amazon online. Then you have food. Don't go out to eat. Don't do fast food. Grocery shop. Grocery shopping is so much cheaper, and those $10 that you spend on one meal can last easily for 3 or 4. So for example, for me, I always get rotisserie chicken, bag of mixed greens, kale or spinach, a bag of apples, and a batch of bananas. The fruits are $5, the bag of veggies is $4, and the rotisserie chicken from a Walmart, Publix, Giant, $6. $20 in food that will last me at least 4 meals minimum. So much more. Then you have, instead of renting, buy a house. Because you're investing money in what you can recoup. You're getting tax benefits, stability, and equity too. So for my situation, when I first graduated college, I lived with my parents for 2 years. I was only making 40 to 50,000 a year. I initially was going to rent, but then my parents told me to buy, so I bought a house. I moved out 5 years later, and when I moved, I made more profits on the sale of the home than I did in over 3 years of work. That put me in such a better position financially, just for me living in something I owned instead of rent. I got my money back on what I spent. So that's going to be the perfect segue into point number 2. Point number 2, save with purpose. Save and don't spend, a concept so we don't lose what we have. But if there's no reasoning behind it, we might as well cut our enjoyment and earnings in half. It just sits in the pot. It doesn't move and it doesn't really grow, and although it feels like the right thing to do, our potential on it becomes so low. Savings account. If you only contribute to a savings account, it grows very little because it has a low APY, or annual percentage yield. Therefore, as the years go on, it will amass very little, not enough to build. So then debt. If you have college, credit card, car, or a home, if you're only paying the minimums, you're constantly giving your money away to other people on something that you own. And if your only revenue is your income and you still have all this debt, you'll find yourself in a rabbit hole of missed opportunities that you'll regret. So then the question is, how do I reset? Step 1 is have an emergency fund. Most recommend 3 months. I recommend 6, because you never know if your job's going to let you go or you'll have an unexpected medical expense. You never want to put yourself at a point of desperation. Number 2 is try to pay your debts off sooner than later. The sooner you pay it off, the less interest you're paying on the things you own. Then 3 is if you have your emergency fund and you're dwindling down your debt, you'll have a lot more extra money that you can then invest. First, you can start off with stocks and bonds, whether you do them yourself or get a broker, and then you can start looking to your retirement fund and contributing to your 401k. And if you have kids, you can open a 529 for their education in the future. And if you have a bunch of extra funds, you can start looking into land or home. Then you can have someone rent out your property to pay you, and then you can gift it to your children or your family at the end. So that's now what brings me to point number 3. Point number 3, spend wisely. This is all about budgeting, weighing your income versus your expenses. Now focus on you and your situation. Do not compare yourself to others. That's the biggest mistake you can make. Now, we've educated ourselves on quality and value so we know what to get, and we understand the importance of saving so that we never go in debt. Now, while we're being wise, don't forget about you. So don't be afraid to take yourself on a trip or get yourself a gift or two. So then that's the end of this topic. The goal is pretty much be smart and treat yourself. That's the key to the overall goal of understanding the value of money and our wealth. So in conclusion, remember these 3 things. Point number 1, go against the grain. Don't worry about others, focus on you. Point number 2, save with purpose. Save, debt, invest. And then point number 3, spend wisely. Don't forget to treat yourself. Those 3 right there are the keys to understanding the value of money. From one witness to another, you are special. Look out.